How do I increase confidence? It is the number one question I have received from hundreds, maybe even thousands of people over the years. Today, I'm going to give you 3 tips that you can start to use to increase your confidence. I mean, start to use as in the second you stop watching this video and you go to your next meeting. I have also coached hundreds, maybe thousands of people on how to improve their confidence. Yeah, it takes a little bit of work. That if you don't have confidence, people stop believing in your ideas. Now, one of these tips is going to take a little bit of work, so just hang with me as we get through tip 1. But tip number 3 is so easy. I am shocked that more people don't do this. It is instant credibility, instant confidence. I can't wait till we get there. But first, let's talk about tip number 1. Know your perspective. The next time you need to give a presentation or it's a meeting and you know it's an important meeting where you're probably going to speak up, I want you to do a little bit of deep dive into what your unique perspective is that you bring to this situation. Because here's the truth, when it comes to confidence, it is a lot of internal mental work. You have to yourself believe you have something of value to contribute. And if you don't, you will not have confidence, which means you won't give off the signs or the signals that you are confident. And that's when other people start to go, ooh, this person does not look confident. So this is all about your perspective. I'm going to give you 4 questions that you can sit down and ask yourself to help increase your perspective. You could pause this video and do them right along with me right now, or I'm going to have a document that you can download. I'll put it in the comment section so you can work on these yourself when you have maybe a little bit more time. But I don't need you to sit around and do this for like 2 hours. This is the type of exercise where just a couple of minutes will really help you lock into your perspective and increase your confidence. Question number 1. How do you see this topic differently? How do you see it differently than your peers? How do you see it differently than your managers? How do you see it differently than your customers? How do you see it differently than other companies out there in the world? Give some thought to it. I can't answer that question for you, but there might be some slice or some angle that has a different perspective than what other people have. Question number 2. What experience do you have that no one else has? If right now you're thinking, Megan, I'm so junior in my career, I don't have any experience no one else has, let me stop you right there. You are not a carbon copy of anyone. No one grew up the way you did, had the exact same education you did, had the exact same work history you did, had the exact same projects that you did. It is not true. It is not possible. Even if you have an identical twin, still not possible. So there are some experiences that are unique to you. Think about those and how in some way it might shape your perspective that is happening for the specific presentation or interaction that you're about to have. Question 3, what expertise do you have? So question 2 is about experience. Question 3 is about expertise. There is some reason you were asked to speak on this topic. And don't leave a comment saying, I was only asked because someone was sick today. You were asked because there is some value someone else believes you could bring in this moment. So I want you to think about it for a bit. What is your expertise? Have you perhaps spent hours, days, weeks researching, planning, preparing, thinking about this topic? That's some expertise. Have you worked in similar places on similar things before? That's some expertise. When you can identify where your expertise is, you start to increase internally your own confidence. Makes you sit up a little straighter and go, oh, I never really thought about it that way. I guess I do have some expertise on this topic. And that's how you start to show up with confidence. Question number 4, what personality trait will come through? You have a unique personality. There is something unique about me. You might be able to tell from my personality, I'm a little big, I'm jazz handsy, I talk a little fast. That's all part of me. I don't need you to be me to be confident, but I do need you to think about what unique traits in your personality might offer some perspective that is different from what other people might have. I want you to value that. I want you to think that's as valuable as I think whatever personality traits I bring are valuable, because it helps ground me and let me know, all right, I'm here to help other people with something. I've got some sort of experience, expertise, personality that all wraps up into the perspective, and it calms me down even when those little feelings of doubt start to come up. Now listen, I told you tip number 1 was the most work, and I wasn't lying. So whether you pause the video along the way and thought through these questions, or you're going to wait till you have some downtime to download the document and go through them, it's the one you're going to have to sift through and hem and haw about. You might even need to get a friend or a confidant to help go back and forth on some answers with you. But I'll also tell you that tip number 1 is probably the one that does the most value for you, because once you start to see your perspective, you start to own it, you start to feel it, you feel more confident, and everybody else starts to see that confidence when you speak to them. Tip number 2, little bit of work. Take up space. Taking up more space gives your brain the signal that, hey, if I'm willing to take up more space, I must be safe. I must be secure. And when we're feeling safe and secure, that is when we are more likely to appear confident. Now, if you want to dive deeper into this, I highly recommend Amy Cuddy's book, Presence. Really great research, and it's something that we at Duarte look to all the time when we think about how does the body and the brain connect and what guidance can we give people to help them look like they have more confidence. When it comes to taking up some more space, I want to make this very practical for you. I already mentioned that when we take up space, our body makes us think, of course, we must be safe. So how do you take up more space if you are seated at a meeting with a lot of other people? Well, here's how you do it. I'm going to do it right now. I am going to position my legs so they are open wide under the table. So give me a second to do that. I am going to tilt my pelvis forward so I am taking up more space and it's making me arch my back and pull my shoulders back. And then I'm going to move my arms out and make sure I've got my elbows here pointed. Now, this is a little bit more formal than I would normally sit in a meeting. I'm more cross-legged, kind of slunched to one side. My chiropractor hates that I sit like that, but it's really comfortable for me. But here, it doesn't look super awkward to anyone. No one can see under the table what my legs are doing. Even if we were in a room together, I don't think anyone would notice. And especially if we are in a virtual meeting, nobody can know us. But what it does is my body is giving my brain the signal that I must be in charge. I must be okay. So now in the middle of that meeting or presentation where I get to remain seated, here I am, taking up more space. It's helping me regulate my breathing. It's helping to give me confidence in this moment. If you have time before you get into the meeting or the high stakes presentation, I highly recommend taking up more space in the room with your full body. One of the ways I will do this, if I'm about to give a big presentation in front of a large audience, or I'm about to be in person with an executive that I'm coaching, I will go off to the bathroom. I will close the stall door. I will stand up and I will put my hands behind my head like this. This is a lot of space. It's obviously a position I am not in all of the time because this would be a weird way to walk around my workday. But what I'm doing is telling my body we must be safe. It helps calm me down. I take a couple of big breaths. And then I remember my perspective and I go on in and bring confidence into that interaction. This one's medium effort, all right? Very next meeting you go to, in person or not, take up more space in the chair, move your arms bigger on the table. And if you have a chance, go off somewhere safe, grab this power pose, and then go and be confident. Tip number 3, memorize your first and last line. You know, the time when you're probably the least confident is right before the first words need to come out of your mouth. Because that's when all that internal chatter is really going on. Oh my gosh, what if I'm not good enough? What if they hate my idea? What if I get fired? What if I can't afford my mortgage? What if I can't feed my family? You spiral really fast. But you know how you'll be confident? If you know exactly what you're going to say. Chances are you don't feel a lot of anxiety the first time you meet someone and you say, hi, my name is, because you know exactly what's going to come out of your mouth next. I want you to prepare the exact same way when you walk into a presentation or you know you're going to speak in a meeting. Know what the first sentence is you're going to say. And I mean know it. I mean memorize it. I'm talking word for word, syllable for syllable, even intonation for intonation. Know exactly how you want it to land. Now, I don't often coach people to memorize their entire presentation. I think that's a bad idea. I think that locks you into some rigidity. It doesn't allow you to be authentic and can actually make your nerves worse. But when you memorize the first line, you've taken a lot of chance out of how might this go from the beginning. And it's a lot easier to do. Memorizing one sentence does not take a lot of effort. And I'm going to show you right now. So a couple of hours ago, I asked my team to send over to me some interesting opening lines they've ever given clients. So for some context, here at Duarte, we often write speeches on behalf of executives. And we usually write your bigger stakes, big moment speeches, so they have a little bit more fanfare or a razzle dazzle in them. So I said, hey, send them over to me because I figured for you, I would try to memorize an opening line right now. I have not looked at these, so I'm a little sweaty. I'm a little scared. When I increase my confidence by taking a wider stance and opening up a little bit, I'm going to grab my phone and grab one of these and show you how long it takes to memorize a sentence. Hydrated, that's 3 out of 4. That's the one I want. Okay, this is good because it has a number in it. The line is, what if I were to tell you that at any given moment, 75% of us are dehydrated? That's 3 out of every 4 people in this room. What if I were to, here's how I memorize. I say the sentences over and over again. I look away, I go to see if I got it right, and then I keep going. What if I were to tell you that at any given moment, what if I were to tell you that at any given moment, 75% of us are dehydrated, 75% of us are dehydrated. Then I put them together. What if I were to tell you at any given moment, 75% of us are dehydrated? That's 3 out of every 4 people in this room. That's 3 out of every 4 people in this room. What if I were to tell you that at any given moment, 75% of us were dehydrated? That's 3 out of 4 people in every room. I speed it up because then it gives my brain the confidence that I actually know it. All right. What if I were to tell you that at any given moment, 75% of us are dehydrated? That's 3 out of 4, and every people, I got it wrong. Okay, we're close. This is how I practice it. What if I were to tell you that at any given moment, 75% of people are dehydrated? That is 3 out of every 4 people in this room. That's it. That's how long it takes you to memorize. And that's something I didn't write, that somebody wrote for somebody else. So if you can do that with your first sentence and your last sentence, because again, where else are you nervous that it might not go well? The end of the presentation. Do it with your first sentence, do it with your last sentence, and all of a sudden you have reduced any anxiety that you might not know how it starts and you might not know how it ends. You absolutely know both of those things, and that will increase your confidence. And there you have it. 3 ways that you can improve your confidence now. And I mean right now, in your very next meeting. And in case you were thinking all this time, but Megan, I don't want to appear arrogant. Let me say, I'm not worried about you. If you stick to these 3 tips, you're not going to be arrogant. If you know what your perspective is, take up space so you feel like you're in more control and know exactly how you're going to open and close. That's not arrogant. That is prepared. That is presence. That is a confident contributor and leader. So give these tips a try, go to the comments and make sure you download those questions to work through your perspective and let me know how it's going. Until next time.